Hello Year 8, today we're doing our second lesson on the Battle of the Somme, and today we're going to look at an inquiry. We're going to look at a statement. The statement is the Battle of the Somme was a complete disaster, and we're going to do some research to enable us to come up with how far do we agree with this statement. Now remember, context on the Somme, it was the 1st of July 1916. We did a lesson last week on the plan for the Somme and the outcome of the Somme. If you remember, it was going to be a battle to end the war on the 1st of July 1916. The British would push through the German lines and this battle might shorten or indeed end the war. But it didn't turn out that way. On the 1st of July 1916, 19,000 British soldiers were killed, 38,000 were wounded. It's the worst day ever for the British Army. So we're going to complete an inquiry to look at just was it a complete disaster. Okay. On to the next slide. Okay, these are just some instructions now. You need to take a double clean page in your book. It has to be a double clean page. In the center of that double clean page, could you put the first day of the Somme was a complete failure? How far do you agree with this statement? And just put a box around it. And then, giving yourself ample space to complete the mind map, could you just make a neat copy of the mind map you see on screen, taking up the full double page? So you can see you've got a number of headings. I need you to put those into your book. You need to pause the video lesson now to enable you to do that. Okay, now you should have a mind map ready to fill in. So we're going to do the first bit together. So the left-hand side of the mind map argues, obviously, that the Battle of the Somme was a complete disaster, and we've got quite a lot of evidence from our research to agree with that. So last lesson we looked at sources A, B, C, D and E. What I need you to do is obviously take that information from sources A, B, C and D to support the idea that the battle was a failure because the 7-day bombardment failed. So our points from A, B, C and D would be the point from A, the Germans had strong underground bunkers which protected their soldiers. The bunkers still had working electricity from C. Many of the bombs failed to explode, leaving the German barbed wire and defences intact from source B. And finally, the Germans still had their machine guns intact, and that's source D. So if you could transfer that information across to that left-hand side of your mind map under the heading the 7-day bombardment failed. So that just shows you the kind of detail we're after. You need to pause the PowerPoint to allow you to do that. Okay, we should now be in a position to complete our mind map. So I've put a big green tick next to that top left-hand bit because we should have done that. So we've just got the remaining boxes to address. So the generals were stupid in the use of tactics. Evidence point from D. Again, I've given you a graphic of what source D looks like, so you need to find that information and put it in that box. Then you've got the generals were willing to waste lives. Evidence point from H. Again, I've given you a graphic there to show you where you can find source H, and you need to copy that across. And then obviously finally, in the yellow section, we've got some counter arguments to this idea it was a complete failure. So we've got statement here, but actually the battle weakened the Germans. So you need to find evidence from G and I. And again, I put a little graphic to show you where that information is. So you just need to spend a few minutes now just filling in your mind map. Remember the kind of detail we modeled for the top left-hand corner of the mind map. You need to try and repeat that for the remaining boxes. So you need to pause the video now and get that complete. Okay, Year 8, the final task now is just to complete the conclusion box. So you've got to jot your ideas down here. Do you think it was a short-term disaster? Do you think it was a complete disaster? Do you think perhaps there might be an argument to say there were long-term successes? Maybe it wasn't quite a complete disaster. It appeared to be on the 1st of July. Once you've done that, that'll complete today's lesson, and hopefully you'll have some idea about what went wrong on the Somme and some idea about an alternative interpretation of the Somme, whereby the battle did result in some successes. Well done for completing this Year 8.